probably heard the phrase, power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. As President Biden leaves the world stage while other leaders, folks like Bibi Netanyahu, hang on for dear life, I've been thinking a lot about the nature of power. But what really comes to mind for me isn't even a political leader. Instead, it's the Tony Stark wannabe and possibly future trillionaire Elon Musk. Elon lives life as though he's playing Grand Theft Auto. With all the cheat codes, unlimited funds, zero rules, complete invincibility. Sadly, when someone like Musk operates without any actual limitations, we are subjected to headlines like this. And this. And all of these. Elon isn't exactly the only troll in the world, but he is one of the only ones pursuing world domination, at least as far as I know. He doesn't just have the biggest platform. He also has the most satellites. He's the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, and he's arguably the single most influential figure in global politics today. And the man's never been elected or run a government or a country. I'm gonna ask you a question. Why do babies love rattles? Because when you're a baby, helpless as you are, and you shake a rattle, it makes a sound. And that sound represents an objective change in the world. Where once there was silence, there is now sound. And social psychology research has shown that one of the things people desire most is agency. The ability to make things happen, rather than have them happen to us. And when you're a baby, it's enough for you to get a sense of agency to just shake that rattle and break the quiet. As a teenager, you rebel against your parents in order to demonstrate your independence. But as we get older and we enter adulthood, we start chasing things like money, power, influence, even sex, because each of these is by some metric or other an objective marker of value. Now, imagine for a second that you're Elon Musk. For all intents and purposes, you've got more money than God himself. The world is your oyster. So what is there left to pursue? How else can you prove that you have agency? Let's go back to Grand Theft Auto. Elon is approaching the world like a video game that he's already won. Now he's just screwing around, saying things to get a rise out of people, doing things that he thinks are ironic and witty. But when real people are involved, what he says and does has real consequences. Elon could literally not spend all of his money even if he had 100 lifetimes. He owns more satellites in low Earth orbit than every country in the world combined. He's dominating the entire automobile industry, and now he controls one of the single most influential media platforms in existence. Power, money, influence. It's all there. Most of us operate with some form of restraints, with checks. The things we say or tweet could result in us losing our friends, or if they're bad enough, maybe even our jobs. Musk doesn't have any of those limitations. He could say or do whatever the hell he wants. Why does he bother calling Australians a bunch of fascists? Why does he stoke civil war in the UK? Or why is he fanning the flames around those poor, beleaguered Haitian immigrants in Ohio?
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
Because in his world and his skewed reality, why not? He can, therefore he will. When you've achieved basically everything there is to achieve, it's easy to become a nihilist, to think that nothing matters, and therefore to basically do whatever you want at any given moment. Listen, it's a cold fact of life. With money comes power. But while other billionaires still have some inherent limitations, right? Some of them keep their opinions to themselves, while most generally refrain from alienating entire populations. Elon doesn't. From Starlink to X to Tesla and SpaceX, Musk has the holy trinity of global influence. Industry domination, telecommunications vital to national security, and the means to influence public opinion. Musk has all the power of a nation state without any of the checks or balances. He's unpredictable. Sometimes he's reckless, but he is never in doubt. He's the lead bird in a flying V. Only the V consists of 200 million followers, waiting for Elon to steer them in any direction he sees fit, amplifying conspiracy theories along the way. And while Elon might be doing a bunch of this for shits and gigs, his actions on X indicate something that might actually be pretty serious. You see, algorithms work in a way to maximize engagement. And the way that you maximize engagement is by catering to people's interests, right? The things that they love, as well as the things that they hate. When Elon brought back conspiracy theorists and anti-Semites like Alex Jones,
and they've got facilities now with thousands of cows per facility with humanoids growing in them, and this is in the literature.
And Laura Loomer,
that's not me, or as Kamala Harris likes to say, they ain't like us, right? She ain't like me. I ain't like her. Okay, I don't suck to get to the top. That's what Kamala Harris does.
And then he proceeded to regurgitate some of their misinformation. His own algorithm started feeding him more and more of this type of content. So he sort of inadvertently led himself down a rabbit hole of self-radicalization. Compare 2021 Elon to present day Elon. You cannot convince me that they're the same person. His dad jokes have pretty quickly devolved into malicious conspiracy theories. And since then, he's started to bow down to the asks of authoritarian governments. He's revived and amplified pretty easily debunkable conspiracy theories. And let's not forget about Tesla. One of Tesla's biggest production facilities is in China. And perhaps even more importantly, Tesla's electric cars require lithium. China is one of the world's biggest producers of lithium, and therefore, Elon, great defender of democracy that he is, hasn't said a single word about China's infractions against free speech. So we've talked about Elon's domination and influence in at least one earthbound critical industry. But what about space? On the one hand, Musk has managed to decrease the cost of putting satellites into space by about 90%, which is honestly pretty incredible. He has tangibly increased the reach of humanity beyond planet Earth. I mean, how many people can say that? Starlink, the system enabled by Musk's satellite network, can bring internet basically anywhere in the world. And it has served as a backbone for Ukraine's military communications. And by the way, this is actually something that Elon has not received enough credit for. But now he's turned on a dime. And he started amplifying some of Putin's favorite talking points.
There is no way in hell that Putin is going to lose. If he were to back off, he would be assassinated. And for those who want regime change in Russia, they should think about who is the person that could take out Putin. And is that person likely to be a peacenik? Probably not.
While mocking Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. And this is actually pretty serious because, as Ronan Farrow noted in The New Yorker, Musk's role in Ukraine has raised some pretty big concerns in the US government. I mean, he could basically change the course of this war on a whim. A Pentagon official actually noted, "We are living off his good graces." That sucks. So the government is desperately trying to figure out how to manage its dependence on one single private individual, especially one as mercurial as Elon. There's a reason why most world leaders, especially those from the democratic world, are generally pretty careful with their words. It's one thing for you or I to come out and say something stupid, but we're not the ones who can turn off an entire country's internet with the flick of our thumb. It's never a good idea for a country's defense to be dependent on any one entity, whether it's a company or a person. But it's especially dangerous when that person is someone as fickle as Elon Musk. I mean, if he were to turn off Starlink in Ukraine and use X to stifle any criticism of his actions, what could anyone do? Remember the whole power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely quote? Well, I think we're getting pretty close to absolute power here. And when you no longer have the mental discipline to accept or at least consider some criticism when pretty much anything other than sheer adulation is suspect, this whole thing becomes a self-fulfilling vicious cycle where everyone tells you what you want to hear and you become ever more certain in your own opinions, in your own thoughts. Steve Jobs had what was called a reality distortion mindset. This was something that allowed him to block out any external criticisms as he tried to achieve something that most people thought was pretty much impossible. Elon appears to have taken this whole concept a step further because he just straight up rejects any kind of criticism while accepting conspiracy theories that appeal to him. So he's moved beyond this whole reality distortion field and appears to have entered something that I would probably call a reality rejection field. So who is Elon Musk? Well, the man definitely contains multitudes. He's transformed a number of industries, he's brought humans pretty close to the stars, and at least initially, he helped the country defend itself against a dictator. At the same time, he's also ego-driven. He selectively defends free speech when it suits him, while ignoring it when it doesn't. He's increasingly nihilistic. He's willing to say and do incredibly outrageous things while supporting dictators and amplifying conspiracy theories that meaningfully distort our national discourse. When we think of Elon Musk, we have to consider the good along with the bad. To understand him is to understand that there's a real internal tension there. Musk has more money and wields more influence and unchecked power than pretty much anyone else on our planet. For him, there are no more mountains to climb. And so he tweets, and tweets, and tweets some more. A process that has led him to fall victim to his own algorithm and to essentially self-radicalize. Deteriorating right before our very eyes, from Marvel's Tony Stark to, I guess, DC's Lex Luthor. And between us, I think we can admit that Marvel's probably better.
Nerd alert!
Anyway, we started with social psychology and we got to comic books. I want to conclude with something a bit more biblical. The Serenity Prayer says, God, give us the serenity to accept what cannot be changed, the courage to change what can be changed, and the wisdom to know one from the other. That literally does not apply to Elon Musk. What did you say? Accept the things I cannot change? I've got a better idea.